All right. Hello, everybody. We're
Well,
recording another
hello.
cut. Let's play the intro, I think.
Here we go.
Welcome to Product Sense.
The show where we talk about our favorite eco-friendly tech products shared on Steam Hunt, a blockchain version of Product Hunt. I'm Dalio.
And I'm Team Humble, and we're glad you're here. That's so much more professional. I like that. Not
It
the
makes me happy
blockchain hunting something. Yeah.
that afterward you're always like, yes, thank God it's not the old.
No, I love it. It's just so clean and just to the point. I know it's not like
clean.
clean. I know it's not full of adverts and stuff, and maybe that's the reason why. Oh, yeah, that's another thing I just found out about Anchor is that some of the shows just don't seem to have the sponsored things running on them, and I can't find the link on there. And I've looked around and I've asked Anchor directly on Twitter twice, and they're just gapping me. So I think they're running some secret thing where if you're not getting like loads of traffic, then they don't play them. And they seem to get randomly turned on, and some of them are turned off. Like we do have some of them turned on, but if there is a sponsor ad at the beginning, maybe we just need to make the sponsor things a bit more sexy. Maybe they found them a bit bland and they just don't know how to communicate and tell people that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I did see that they posted, they've been posting articles like, hey, like, here's 5 tips to make your sponsorship reads sound better and things. So,
Right.
like you get these just from us being in those jobs of having to communicate those things for our clients. You can decode what that stuff means as like, oh no, we're not happy with the way people did these. So now we have to teach them.
I kind of don't like that shade. Don't build a product like that, which is like, we built this, it makes everything easier, and then try and be shady like, on the, we need to make money on the side kind of thing. Because what it does, it sends a message out into society. It's like, well, you're not quite good enough yet. And then you've got that age old problem of like, well, how do I get good?
Yeah.
Then for me, it feels personal, like a permission economy thing where it's like, actually, you're just not our people.
You're not in the club. Well, it would have been one thing if they like released it right with the announcement. Like, hey, we're doing this and here's how to make it awesome. Like, fine. But the fact that it was clearly like 2 weeks later after everyone had recorded theirs, and it just felt like a little bit like, oh, so you weren't happy and you had to be passive aggressive about it.
I just can't do. I just can't do that. Like pretend recording excitement about like, hey, did you check it? I just something inside of me just like gets averse to that because I don't like being promoted to or marketed to like that. So I'm definitely not going to do that. I just don't think we've got to that genuine sales edge yet where we're like, yes, this product is good. I do like it. It is good for the environment, yada, yada, yada. And I think we will get there. We're just not there yet. Like people are literally still upselling like something they've never used or never heard of before. So
yeah, I mean, we got lucky to have a sponsor that we do use. Like we do use Flipboard and we do use Anchor. That's 2 of ours. But the other one, the Skim, I don't have any personal connection to the Skim, even though I'm sure it's lovely if that's something like a service that you're interested in. Or I forgot what the other one was. Or maybe it was just the Skim because we did Anchor twice. So you're right. I think it's different. Like if we were shipped something and it was like, hey, have this, like use it for 30 days, try it out, see what you think about it. And then if you want to talk about it, like you and I are such good storytellers that it would just feel like storytelling.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
We would absolutely crush that. But it in the sense of it being like, and trust me, I'm not here to complain about the fact that we have a sponsorship opportunity because for like a podcast our size, was never even a possibility until a couple weeks ago.
Look, things cost money. I get that.
Sure. But I'm not going to just be like, I'm not going to put on like a front and be like, your life will never be the same unless you use this product that I literally have never even downloaded. Like, bruh, nah, I'm not here for that. Like, I'm not here to.
Yeah.
I
don't think we've got there yet.
The hype man.
I don't think we've got there yet. I think there's a lot. There's still a lot of like companies and podcasts and things that are not on a blockchain. Therefore, or locked into a smart contract. There's no like, if it doesn't work in 2 years' time, like I tell you a perfect example is the CBD company that I keep seeing who's like giving off like $1 million and people are like, oh, re-steam it for a chance of this and like for a chance of this. And it's obviously building up their social accounts and they're getting some traffic from it. And they are giving bits of money away and posting little PayPal things and stuff. But those guys might not be around in 2 years. It's just a like short-term ramp up the potential customers like play, and they've got this like Las Vegas place. Don't get me wrong, the guy's doing all the bits. You know, he's doing the community angle. He's like,
Is he doing
taking a
YouTube
photo,
ads
getting it
with his
the whole
Lamborghinis in the background?
Yeah,
I grew up in a
exactly.
regular house, and my mom worked 17 jobs, and now I have all of this.
Yeah,
Warren
it's kind
Buffett
of like
was on the top list of Forbes magazine, and I know his secrets. I'm here to tell them to you. Like,
but it's
okay.
become but it's become almost a caricature in itself. You know, it's like people have like almost switched off to that, to the point of like, you know, okay, that's your play, that's your marketing, that's who you are. Like, I can either entertain it or not,
but without the heart of being Gary. You know,
you've got to have the substance. You got to have the substance. You got to have the character, and you got to have the chops. You got to have done it. You got to have stepped through it. So
you got to be the guy who's going to drive in a New Jersey snowstorm the day before Christmas to hand deliver a box of wine to a just regular average Joe client. When you're that kind of guy, you have my ear. Then you can can come in with the bravado. That's something obviously Gary did if you don't know that story, but like, and he told that story in the way back in like the first book that he ever wrote, Days, and like
Crush It.
Yeah, and Crush It. And like, I read that book and I was like, oh, like I have time for this guy. And like the bravado and the over the topness and like the cockiness and the confidence.
Yeah.
That's something that's earned when you've put in the work, the hours, and like you know. So, but I think everyone just skipped that and they went straight to the bravado of being like, okay, yeah, just set up the shot. And like, yeah, is a Lambo in the shot? Is it in the shot? Okay, cool. How's my hair? Okay, cool. Like,
everybody's trying to experience. Everybody's trying to experience what he puts out. You know, everybody's trying to, you know, take a ladder up on a snakes and ladders game without spinning in the dice yet.
Everybody's trying to make a cheaper drone, Biza. Everybody's trying to do a spin-off, literally.
Oh, I've seen. Nice. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see so many entrepreneurs trying to, like, if they communicate in the same way as him, if they align with him, if they are, you know, doing something at the same time as him, or, you know, that you're not going to align yourself with somebody just because, you know, like, you have to have the legacy. You have to have the legacy. You have to be able to call on it.
Right. You can't just buy the starter kit.
So what I'm getting at is there's a lot of companies out there. I can't wait until like sponsorship and affiliate management and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I still do affiliate stuff for like VPNs and stuff because I know they pay out good money. And I also know that they know their marketplace, so that when they get somebody on board, they can definitely say that they're going to get $100 worth of value out of that customer if I bring it to them for 25.
And
right?
you use that VPN. Like, that's your daily,
Absolutely.
you know, that's your daily driver. It's not just like some random whatever. And especially just me knowing you, other people might not know this about you, but like the VPN that Phil chooses is the VPN you go with.
Yeah.
Because I know you know your stuff. I know you've worked for the council, like, you know, not just like I would pick a VPN on a pretty interface. Let's be honest.
I know that.
Let's call a spade a spade. My VPN
look,
criteria. It's got bears.
The bears. I was about to say the bear's waving at me. The bear's waving at me.
Oh, so easy. I'm so easy. Like, just throw some bears on it.
Yeah. Does the bear wave? Yeah, I'm down. But how much is the subscription?
That's always what we talk about in products in this podcast, in Product Sense, which it's like people have different boxes that different products check for them. Like something that just like so yawn town that you're into, that you might hunt.
Good segue.
Thank you.
Good segue boxes, actually, because the title of this podcast is Product Nonsense Landfill Christmas.
Oh, happy Boxing Day.
Happy Boxing Day.
What I'm saying. And it is currently New Year's Eve. So we're just like we're literally pushing up against the window between us and the end of the year with this podcast. And we're like past the fever dream of Christmas.
Fever dream.
It really doesn't it feel like one when you wake up like, whoa. And now we have a bunch of stuff. Like, we did all this stuff as humans, right? We expended a lot of energy. There was a lot of hustle and bustle. There was just like a lot of movement and friction and buying and selling. And now it's like the lull. And it's like, now is my perfect time to reflect and be like, so what was the zero-sum game of all of that? do we all just swap Amazon gift cards? Because I feel like that's what a lot of families did. Like, yeah, I want an Amazon gift card. Okay, yeah, what do you want? An Amazon gift card. Okay. Do we both just buy plastic and hand it to each other and then be like, Merry Christmas? I mean,
oh my God, plastic. We should just all do. We should be. They should have phased them out by now. They should be completely phased out. It's all digital.
They do both. They do both. But like people, I think it's an older generation thing. They like to they don't feel like they've given something unless they physically have handed it to you, and wrapped
Well, like climate change, you mean?
Merry Christmas.
Physically handed it to us. There you go. There's 50 years of plastic sitting in a landfill. Enjoy yourself.
Oh man, we're going for it today. But
yeah, why not?
But yeah, that's
a serious topic.
It's kind of what we do here, I guess. I mean, like we talked about this last episode. It was right before Christmas, and it was like, I'm definitely not here to be a Debbie Downer. Definitely not here to rain on your parade or sober you up from the fever dream. But it's just nice to be. It's just really nice to be reflective and think about like all of the effort that goes into it for like 5 minutes of package opening, like.
Well, that was my link today. One of my first links today, and the reason why I kind of put it forward is that one of my biggest beefs is about how do we harness the digital stuff to make things sustainable, right? So this title is called Harnessing the Digital Revolution for Sustainable Development. So the financial digitalization, the digital revolution, system level transformation of the entire financial ecosystem. So it's basically about moving money into expanded use of financial technology so that we can hone a bunch of those things to get in alignment with the sustainability development goals of the Paris Climate Agreement. So what I'm saying by that is that normally we have an issue where old antiquated systems, they don't use modern day technology, and because they don't use modern day technology, like there's just poor optimizations across the board. So I'm starting to see a lot of these things pop up now, which is trying to make a better environment for those things to thrive. So this, like for instance, the factors of it can influence. Many factors can influence sustainable development outcomes. For example, the global financial economic crisis that began in 2008 and subsequent responses by regulators and policymakers have impacted economic growth, job creation, and income equality. So the idea with digitalization is that there's a long-term difference by taking on board these new business models driven by technology. So we have got so many advancements in technology, but a lot of these old systems are not up to date. You start to see it in farming, you start to see it in medical, especially, like some incredible advancements in those areas. But then you have like, we're starting to see cities provide free public transport within the city. But the money to get those, the systems to get that money in place often is behind, or the infrastructure is just not caught up. So I'm kind of glad to see some of these things starting to pop up now.
Well,
and a lot of them.
No, go ahead.
And a lot of them are looking at things like blockchain. A lot of them are looking at newer technologies to speed those things up. Crowdfunding, for instance. Like for instance, in the UK, we have a platform called Abundance. In Germany, we have EcoCrowd. In Japan, they have a thing called NPO Bank. So they're all unlocking responsible, sustainable lending solutions.
Love it.
So that's when you start to get money in the hands of the people who can do the job, but just never had access to the funds before. So
I love it.
I kind of dig that, because then you can add another layer of abstraction on that. It's like, do you own these hunt tokens or tokens for that particular thing? Hunt tokens being the Steam Hunt tokens that we're accruing by doing various actions on the Steam blockchain, but on their web app. And they go on for another project. Well, I see a lot of these financial services doing the same thing or moving towards the same thing. So you might have a bunch of green credits that you've accrued over the last year, and you might be able to get a low carbon footprint plane flight to somewhere and then use like eco transports around a city.
Love it.
As long as you've got a number of, like
tokenized.
I just feel like, because it's like your passport to do those things, and it's immutable, and it's, you've definitely done it. It's not like somebody's just like grabbed a load of those tokens and, you've actually earned them
Sure.
for doing something else in the real world, and it's trackable on a open silo, discoverable, if you like. It's not locked away on some database.
Right.
Somewhere.
They're not just spun up like at a whim, which
right.
means that they have value.
Right.
Well, I don't know if this would like totally trigger you for us to go out of order from the way that we usually do things, but my first pick for a hunt actually feeds like dovetails perfectly into that article.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, like we just kind of have a Trello board we jump in and out of. So like Phil and I usually we don't really discuss or plan these things out, and it's kind of cool when it works. So this first one is called Bioskin. It's a facade system for cooling city heat islands. And what they define as a heat island is like these pockets of heat that our buildings generate that are within cities. Like, because there's just so much activity and things are so closely crammed. And you were just talking about like infrastructure and things like that. And I absolutely love the idea of, obviously this would take a huge overhaul in order to like update a building to this outside facade. But what it does is when like, it makes heat like just roll off of it. They have these simulations with like heat maps and things. And all it is it's made from this eco-friendly material that are like these panels that kind of go around the outside of a building. And I absolutely love that, because what we like to do as humans is we build buildings and then we're like, it's too hot. Okay, air conditioning. Let's just pump it full of air conditioning. Like what I love like a solution that's elegant like this that stops it from getting hot in the first place, just because of like the arrangement of tiles and engineering by people who are so much smarter than I am. Being like, okay, let's make this building itself like a heat reflector. And since climate change is certainly a thing, I think we're going to have to think of more ways to regulate temperature that don't include using more energy, using more electricity, using more freon, things like that. If we can make our buildings or update our existing buildings to be able to reflect heat or keep coolness in, that's like a perfect solution in my opinion. So that's called Bioskin.
I don't think it would take that much to get that on a building, really, if it's going to have that amount of impact. I think that's like such a clever. I think
the Japanese, man, they know. I would trust anything.
Oh, yeah.
If they say this is what we need in the world, this is what we need in the world.
It's kind of interesting. And I think that comes from the fact that when I think of the Japanese, I think of them to be a very calm, peaceful, very thought-provoked,
reflective, maybe
reflective, even country who consider things, really, really consider things. I mean, you have to look at Sony. I mean, Sony was so ahead of its time on so many different things, and it kind of, I feel like they put people first, like and the planet as well. I feel like they're not an insular country. They genuinely want the rest of the world to like discover some of the characteristics of what they live by.
I wouldn't mind living there, if I'm honest, especially after I saw that healthcare report card that you get when you turn 30 in Japan. Like,
tell people about
they got it on
lock.
Oh my gosh. I just stumbled upon this girl on YouTube who married a Japanese citizen, but she's American. She just turned 30. They live in Japan. And when you live in Japan at the age of 30, you go in for a bunch of tests, which is obviously all paid for by the government. Pretty much a full body healthcare checkup from head to toe, including, if you're a woman, you get mammogram done, you get brain scans, they scan your lungs, they take your blood, they do a full blood panel. I mean, really in depth. Then you get this like 18-page full color workbook of like, this is your body. It literally has a diagram of like this cartoon female human and like pictures of major organs and things like diagrams that say, okay, you got an A+ rating in this department, a B rating in this department, a little key at the bottom that says, if you get between a C and a D rating, you need to come back for more tests. We want to look at this. We're concerned. Or D+, you need to make major changes in your life. And the whole ethos behind it is just like, let's get everybody, let's check in with you at age 30. And like 30 is still very young in terms of, how long bodies are lasting. They want to catch this stuff at a very, very early on stage. They predicted that this girl in particular may be at risk for glaucoma because they tested that the pressure within her eye socket was something that might lead to glaucoma. Like, she's got perfect vision. She's like, I never even think of my eyes. But like, now that I am 30 and I'm aware of all of these things and, you know, the early onset, this, that, and the other thing, I can deal with it, and I can treat it. I can change my diet. I can keep coming back for checkups and make sure that things don't develop in, you know, in a negative way. And I was like, dude, like, if we wait till you got your arm falling off and you bring it in a wheelbarrow, like, with you into the emergency room, and you're like, I think I've got a problem with my arm. Like, and I've always been that way personally because I never had health insurance. So it was just like, unless you're dying, you're not going to the doctor.
Right.
And like, this approach, and which also creates trust between the doctor and the patient, because you know that they're interested in your long-term health, and it doesn't create this like fear and anxiety of like, oh, I'm going to the doctor. Because you see, the thing is, if you wait to go to the doctor till you're dying, when you go to the doctor, you feel like you're dying. You have that like reverse anxiety effect of being like associating it with like, I've got something terminal, it's all over, you know. But like,
right.
I think there needs to be I don't have a positive relationship with the medical industry, like, or doctors at all. So that just being part of the culture, and that to me overall just is a representation of like me being reeled down with Japanese values in terms of that anyway. I don't know what all of the Japanese values are, but that one I can vibe with. So I was so impressed by that.
I mean, when you sent me that thing, I was like, you're winding me up. This is just some like hipster like art thing. But the fact that they've actually got that and kind of send it out to you and you do like a little review, and it's so simple as well. It's like a really well thought out little diagram of like a breakdown rather than, I think we can learn so much from each country's, if we really unpack to that stuff. I think a lot of these conferences that people fly to, they don't get that. They might sit in the audience and watch a presentation about something like that, but trying to go back to your country and sell that idea, like, just certain things just won't fly.
Because I think the medical industry kind of gets off on that exclusivity that like you and I always talk about, where it's like, no, we're the ones who know, you don't need to know. But it's like, you do need to know. It's your body. Like, I always get this sense that this is like totally off topic from the podcast, but I just get this sense that there is a intellectual class system that doctors want to maintain, so that if you learn too much about your body, then they're obsolete. So it's like, I've never had a doctor explain anything to me about my body. Just like, this is what's wrong. This is the pill you need. And it's like, if there's no motivation to educate anybody, or for anybody to feel ownership out of their own bodies and feel responsibility for their own bodies and be in tune with their own bodies, like that personal responsibility just goes out the window. And then it becomes this consumerist culture of like, oh, that's what I pay the doctor for. It's their problem. Just like, it's your own damn body. Get it together.
Yeah.
But that's part of the problem is that we talk about here every week, which is it's somebody else's problem.
At some point, you've got to like stand up and look at it and be like, all right, how do I minimize the impact of this on my life? But then also when you do that, you realize how much you want to spread that to other people, like that message to other people. You can do this too. There is a little tweaks that you can do. And I think it's happening faster than ever. Yeah. I do see things out there. When I, go into the store and have a look in the section where like the discount stuff is, I can see lots and lots of meat being priced down because people are not buying as much meat as they used to. Good. I honestly believe that people are like trying to change their diets. I
would love that.
I see a lot of stuff getting reduced that you'd be surprised about, dairy and meat. And, I also see things like stuff that's come out that didn't sell that would have sold if it wasn't too expensive to try, like butters and stuff. Like I got this plant-based butter. I don't want butter, but I kind of sometimes like that on a cracker, especially at Christmas when I know I'm going to get crackers for Christmas. But I don't want to buy butter because I don't want to just get into a thing of like apathetically putting butter in everything that I do. So that this plant-based one is more expensive. So it's expensive because they know not many people are going to buy it. And the people who do buy it probably have the money to buy it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see a lot of that in the sales.
But I think also I agree. And when you're trying to be budget conscious, expensive is completely relative. But I think, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I think that the prices that we're accustomed to are so low that they make things that are made correctly, ethically, and morally. That's the price that those things should be. So it's like we say they're expensive, and obviously that I know that you're just using that as a term for they cost more. But I've noticed that, like, I sometimes think about if you can get 18 eggs for 99 cents, it's like there's something wrong. There's something that's got to be wrong there, because and it makes ethically sourced products look bad, because a lot of times I think people think that they're just paying for the hipster packaging. And yes, that is definitely, they have to stand out because they're trying to compete. But I think we have this idea, we have a devaluing of what animal products should cost because we're used to getting them so dirt cheap. And that's what they cost, when really, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to just repeat myself over and over. I think I think I communicated it. Like, the price that we expect isn't the price it should be. You're taking a life. You know what I mean? That life's got to get to you, and it has to be shipped, and has to be refrigerated, has to be butchered. Like, how can that be 99 cents a pound? Like, how?
I've been, you know, I mean, I've been evaluating those kind of life choices for a couple of years now, but definitely recently, media has definitely impacted me on that stuff. Like, I've seen tweets and things of animals like stressed out, like going to the to be butchered and stuff like that, because of people being really proactive, activists being really proactive about it. And actually, it does have an impact. It does have an impact on me, because it changes the relationship with the food that I eat and the source of it and where it comes from, and my compassion for, you know, those animals. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to just turn into this utopian world where all of a sudden we let animals just like everywhere, like cows and sheep everywhere. I mean, there's got to be some kind of like, well, like a big field of like floofs, big floofy clouds. Like, you just can't move anywhere because there's so many of them. Okay,
just kidding. No, that makes its own problems, because they drink a lot of water and they create a lot of methane. Like,
I don't know. I feel like we've got an out of balance situation.
For sure.
Which I think we'll always have. I think we'll always have that. It's just that there's so many of us and so much like, and hopefully a lot of I say hopefully, systems that get in place will connect something with something more than ever. But it's our relationship with it when we do that, you know, and being aware of the impact of that, making the whole supply chain efficient. I don't know. I think there's just balance that we need to get in kilter.
Blockchains will fix it.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, I don't know how long the word blockchain, I think it's overused now, but I do like the idea of some information being immutable.
And open.
My new thing right now is that I feel like everybody throws blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency all together, and it's just like, I lost a lot of money on mining equipment in my Brooklyn basement, and I got in at $21,000 Bitcoin, and now it's 4. It's like, it's destroyed everything that has those associations with it, unfortunately.
No, I agree.
So I'm kind of more interested in saying about the immutable part, as in, okay, this fish was fished here, and then it made its way to this supermarket, and you know it's from where it says it is, because we stored an immutable reference of its journey, and here it is on this chain, which you could never get before because it was all siloed away, you know, between the supplier and now it's like more about the human choice. Like, okay, I know where this is from. Now I can make a relationship decision with that.
Yeah,
that's how I see it anyway. Maybe I'm
training people and training culture and society to expect or even demand information. Like, even just blockchains creating the habit of people being like, hey, can I get the information on that? Like, I think the younger generation of kids are going to be like, they're going to demand information because they've always been used to having it. And once people have the information, then they can make an informed choice, instead of it being the attitude of like, oh, well, the government must be sorting it out. Like, they have regulations for this. Like, do you know what I mean? Just to have a culture of requesting that information and being like, hey, what's going on here? I think is really healthy. I have time for one more if you're down for one more, or do you have an article that you really wanted to mention?
No, I was just going to throw two things together. Actually, there was two links. One was from Tree Hugger, which I'll probably put in the comments when I upload it. But about, is this the beginning of the end for the traditional Christmas shopping? And it's kind of based in the UK, but it's talking about how bad like shopping on the street at street level and even Boxing Day stuff is not working anymore. And they're kind of speculating that we might have reached peak stuff, as they're calling it. Like people are putting priorities on other stuff. Because budgets have been so squeezed that people are just not like splurging on that stuff anymore, which I think is a good foundation for people to like readdress what they're actually doing with their money,
what they
and why.
Need. Right.
And then, and then the final thing was, that's great, but consumers are ready for full sustainability, but the brands are just not ready yet. So there is sustainable advancements and customers want it, but the brands aren't ready to deliver, to capitalize on that and deliver that yet. So we're in this weird, like after Christmas Day week space for the whole of like, the on-street experience where like people do definitely want to pay the extra and want stuff that is sustainable, and they want the story, they want the interactivity, they want to talk about it, they want to share it on social media, they want to be like, I have this experience and you haven't had that experience. That's what we're in now, is the attention economy, right? But the brands are not ready for that. The brands don't have the distribution and the manufacturing things in place to deliver on that high quality, high level retooling, recosting, sourcing of those materials from those sources in the same kind of price range. So we're in a really dead zone at the minute in terms of that. But it's interesting that it seems to be turning the corner. It seems to be happening quite quickly.
I think that there's going to be, like you said, that's a huge ship to turn around. Like, you know, when Apple announced that they're doing like this buyback program of old iPhones, and they're trying to recycle the materials from iPhones. I was actually showing my dad on their website, and they have this little robot. I think her name is Daisy. It's just like one of those crazy arm robots that's been hunted 1,000 times on Steam Hunt. But this is Apple's version, and it can disassemble 200. I believe. Don't quote me. It can disassembles something like 200 iPhones in an hour or something like that, completely down to raw parts, like raw materials, which is so valuable, because that's the biggest problem with recycling, is like getting the aluminum into the aluminum bin, getting the, you know, the nickel and copper, whatever, into its places. But you have to believe, you have to know that Apple had the idea to do that maybe 5, 10, 8 years ago. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, how long ago was that an idea in a boardroom for Apple? At least 5 years ago. Right. So if they're just having that idea now with, you know, current companies, is my point. You know, it's going to be a while for things like that to come online. Plus, Apple's got resources. Like, very few companies in the world have resources the way Apple does. So it's cool that they're like, they've got cash. It's cool that they're front runners in that, like, you know, trend or whatever you want to call it. But you're right. It is going to, even if companies are waking up to it today, that there's a demand, like you said, there's going to be a lead time. Like, there has to be, just because of infrastructure and setting that stuff up. Right. So hopefully it'll be cool. Right. Hopefully it'll be, we'll catch up to all of our dreams.
Well, something's got to change. I mean, like I mean, I would love to go to like a sales at the end of a year, or not even a sale, but like a day after the new year. Maybe other countries do this. Maybe Danish or Norwegian or Finnish or something like that. That
somebody
quite
better than us, basically, is what we're saying.
But maybe instead of like the sales, the relationship with like, you're going to get stuff cheaper and therefore more of it. Maybe instead of that, it'll be like, we're going to have like, set yourself up for the year, like a sustainability day where you buy a top or a t-shirt that, instead of it coming from Primark, is like something that will last you. I love that. For the whole year. Or
like a turn-in day, like the day after Christmas, you got all of this new stuff, and then you can reevaluate what you don't need anymore because of the new stuff, and be like, I want to bring these things back to these recycling centers, and they can be processed down into making next year's Christmas stuff. Like,
I mean, I think you could I think you could turn a whole shopping area, even one of these ones that are like shipping containers, like just for the month of January, and just turn it into, instead of it like it's still a destination, still a shopping zone, but like all aligned like that. All right, we're going to it's going to be all sustainable food. It's going to be ethically sourced. All the stuff is and you can come in and trade stuff or recycle stuff, because that's the difficult part, start of the year. And maybe just change people's perspective at the beginning of the year.
Everything, as far as the eye can see, is made from hemp. Even your iPhone's going to be made of hemp. Just kidding.
Yeah. Disposable hemp iPhone. I can see it now.
It'd be the high phone.
Hi, do you want to finish on these last two that you got?
Yes,
here?
But I have to do it very, very quickly. I hope you don't mind. Running out of
that's fine. Well, we can just we can finish it up. We can finish it up. We can do.
Yeah, they're good ones. We can save them for next time.
All right. Just a little message to everybody. Have a great and happy New Year. Celebrate safely, but be very careful when you're out with the fireworks and all that sort of stuff. And usher in the new year. Drive safely home. Get lifts and stuff. Don't drink and drive. All that usual stuff.
Stay in. It's more fun
I think that's everything.
Anyway, I like being cozy. Put your long socks on and be cozy.
All right, everybody. We'll see you in 2019. Bye. Take care. Bye. You can support the show by heading to anchor.fm/Product Sense and clicking support this podcast, or by checking out any of this week's sponsors.
You can subscribe to Product Sense wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can hang out with us on Discord by visiting smarturl.it/talkback.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.